Oh, dang. What is that? That's a, oh my gosh, that's a giant smallmouth. Oh, he stopped me completely in my tracks. I thought I was like on a log. He's not a giant, but it's a big one. Got one hook in him. Come here. On the old finisher. Come on. Come here. That is a nice one. On the finisher, guys. This is another one of those baits that is so just completely underutilized. This guy right here catches tankaroos like that 4-pounder. Man, just completely stopped me in my tracks. What a beautiful fish. So I just want to tell you, I want to share with you some things about this bait. Give you a little example as to how I like to fish it. It is not a giant bait. So this is the size 7. There's a 5 and there's a 9. A little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. But it's such a unique slash bait that Berkley came out with. And I cannot believe we haven't heard more guys using it this year. And I think it just has to do with the fact that it's an underutilized bait again. And it's a very user-intensive bait, meaning you got to just visualize what your bait is doing, and you really can have a ton of control with it based on your rod movements. And because the bait's heavy, it sinks fast, it's just not a super easy bait to go out and use. But this, I will say, is much easier than the credge. Like, you can fish it just like a jerk bait. So why don't I give you the retrieves that I really like to use with it? Not hard to use. Oh, there was a smallmouth, just chased it in with some grass on the tail. So I'm just fishing a flat here. We're in about 8 to 10 foot of water, some scattered rocks, scattered grass, just a typical flat with some smallmouth and stuff on it. So I like to throw it out. The first retrieve I like to do is just a simple snapping of the rod tip. And I got another one. Okay, so just a simple snap of the rod tip where you're just, you know, I would say I'm raising my rod up to about 10 o'clock, just snapping it. Just not fast, just a nice continuous snap of the rod where you're just, you know, you're just almost getting into that, not a giant one, but getting into that little bit of a, I don't know how I'd say it, just you get your cadence going, you kind of almost fall asleep as to what you're doing. It's like fishing jerkbait. Come on, you are not that big, fish. They like this one with the chartreuse on the bottom. Come here. They're all putting on their fall feed bag. He had it across the face. Okay, well, that worked. Fish, I'll pay you your $10 later. Come meet me at the boat ramp for being a star in the show. Okay, so let's just do that one again. Throw it out. I'm really not letting it sink much. I'm almost working it closer to the surface. Just nice, repetitive cadence, snapping the rod tip, but I'm not doing it hard. It's just a nice, easy swing, and that bait is just gliding back and forth. It's shooting a couple feet side to side, and that's really all I need. You know, I'm just getting that bait just swimming through the water column really nice. And you can do that all the way back to the boat. You know, I personally like to mix in a couple stops, a couple of quicker ones, but basically that's just a simple routine. Now, if you really want to generate some of those reactionary strikes, I'll fish it faster with a little bit more of a defined rod snap. And what that's doing is this getting this bait to just shoot hard back and forth. It's a much different, faster routine that for me works much better generally in the warmer periods. And when I'm doing that, again, I'll pause it for a second and just hit it again. When you pause it, that bait drops fast. It falls, I'm gonna say it falls at over a foot a second. I mean, it's a pretty quick fall. Get a little bit of grass once in a while. So that's another routine. Nice, fast, we'll do another one of those. Throw it out, let it fall to the depth that you want. And the nice thing about the finisher is it like runs at the bait that you let it go to. It really doesn't rise much. It really does a good job of staying at the depth range that you want it to. So I'm really hitting it harder. And that's getting that bait to really slash hard. And then in the middle of it, I might mix in a pause here and there. Let it fall down a little bit deeper and just start snapping it. And that the difference with the fast snap versus the slow snap, like the first retrieve, the slow snap is really letting it finish the full glide. So this bait will shoot like 3, sometimes 4 feet side to side. And when it hits the side, it almost curls back under and then starts to drop. With that slow retrieve, like the first cast, which is what I've been catching the fish on, because it's more of a, you know, we're in the fall period, the fish are just not as active. It's more of a pull, almost like a pull sweep. And I'm letting that bait glide all the way to the end of its turn, and then it starts turning in. That fast one is just keeping the bait like a foot apart, maybe a 1.5 foot glides. When if I'm just doing this, that bait is just really fast and erratic, and that's what makes a lot of those fish bite during the warmer periods. During the cold periods too, I just prefer the slower one. Now, the last way I really like to fish this is when I'm fishing deeper. You know, you can fish this bait down 20-30 feet no problem. And what I'll do, and I'll probably get some grass here, but I'll let that bait fall all the way to the bottom, and I'm almost going to work it like I would almost like a jig, in a way where I let it go to the bottom, and then I'm just going to pop it a few times, let it go to the bottom, pop it a few times. I'm getting some grass right now because I'm hitting the bottom, but the point here is you let it go to the bottom and you just pop it a few times, let it kind of fall back down. You know, and remember, if you're working 20 or 30 feet of water in terms of the depth, it's harder to get your bait to stay down. So you pop it a few times, nice and easy, let it scoot on the bottom, fall back towards the bottom, scoot towards the bottom. Really works really well if you're fishing both downhill and uphill, meaning fishing, you know, if you've got the boat off of a break line versus a boat being on top of the break line, you can fish it either way. But it stays down really nice. So that's, you just let it go to the bottom, couple of nice little pops, let it fall back to the bottom, pops, like kind of like you're working a jig. That's what it feels like, but instead of the bait crawling on the bottom, it's scooting on the bottom. And it's just one of those things that can generate bites, and it's a good bait to keep you down. You know, if you're on an area where it's really you're fishing like a crankbait, and things where you know the fish are down on the bottom and you need a bait to stay down on the bottom, that's where to do it. Now, preferably not on a flat with a bunch of grass like I'm fishing, but the Berkley finisher, guys, it is such a good bait. Largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, everything likes this thing. You know, you've seen, I've caught 2 right here just in a couple of minutes of fishing. I'll probably catch about 35 today on it. Just a super fun bait, but I know a lot of you guys have it. I don't think a lot of you guys have fished it much or have really given it the try that it deserves. You know, it excels, in my opinion, it excels in those areas where you like to throw a jerk bait. It excels on your shallow flats that have a lot of scattered grass or rock, even some wood. And it is extremely multi-species. It's something that catches everything. And like I said, it comes in a bunch of different sizes. So if you want to catch crappie with it, throw the 5. If you want to catch pike, pick up the 9. You know, I think I like the 7 all around. I think it's the most versatile. I catch everything on it. You know, you guys saw it. I mean, the bait is not a big bait. I don't have the exact measurements in my hand, but it's probably a, I'm gonna say 2 3/4 inch bait, 3-inch bait. Not big, super fun to use. Just another one of those baits that has that erratic motion that generates the strikes that you're always looking for. All right, guys, I'm gonna get back to this. I know it's windy out. You probably can't hear a dang word that I'm saying, but try the finisher. If you haven't tried the finisher, you gotta try it. It is so good. All right, we'll talk to you later. If you enjoyed today's video, let me know by hitting the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out for you.